the girl they made to be forgotten, and the kingdom that paid the price. All right, before we begin, I want you to slow down just a little. Let your shoulders drop. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it go. If your mind has been racing all day, if something's been weighing on your chest, just leave it outside for a while, because right now you're stepping into my world, a quiet world, a dark fairy tale where not everything is as it seems. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully, because tonight's story isn't about a princess who was loved. It's about the one they tried to erase, and how forgetting her became the kingdom's greatest mistake. This is the story of Lyra, the 100th name. Long before anyone dared to whisper her name, there was a kingdom called Illyrian, a place so beautiful it almost felt unreal, where golden towers touched the sky, and the people believed their royal bloodline was blessed by the stars themselves. And yet, hidden beneath that beauty was fear, a quiet, suffocating fear, because for generations every royal family had one rule they never spoke of aloud, a rule written not in books but in silence. No king and queen must ever have more than 99 daughters, and no one questioned why, because those who did simply disappeared. And so the people obeyed, and the queens prayed, and the kings counted carefully until one year. The counting failed. Queen Elmira gave birth not to one child but to twins, and while the first child, Ceres, was celebrated with bells and music and light, the second child was born in complete silence. No announcement, no celebration, no name spoken aloud, because that child was the 100th, and the moment she took her first breath, the entire castle seemed to fall into a quiet panic. The royal advisors whispered urgently, the king turned pale, and the queen cried not out of joy but fear, because everyone knew what it meant. The 100th daughter was not meant to exist. She was not part of the blessing. She was something else, something the kingdom had spent centuries trying to avoid. And so they made a decision, a cruel and quiet decision. They would not kill her, no. That would be too obvious. Instead, they would do something far worse. They would erase her. She would live, but she would not be seen, not remembered, not loved. She would be raised in the hidden parts of the castle, behind locked doors and forgotten halls, cared for only by one silent maid who was forbidden to speak her name aloud. And so the child grew without a name, without a place, without anyone who acknowledged her existence. She watched the world from behind curtains and shadows. She saw her sister Ceres grow into a radiant princess, adored by all, surrounded by laughter and warmth, while she remained a ghost in her own home. But here's where the story begins to change, because despite being unseen, she was not empty. The girl, who secretly began calling herself Lyra, felt everything deeply. She felt the warmth of sunlight through the cracks in the walls. She felt the distant echo of music from royal celebrations. She felt the ache of being unwanted. And yet, she never grew bitter. She grew curious. She began to explore the forgotten corridors, the ancient ruins beneath the castle, places no one had touched for centuries. And one night, she found something that would change everything. Deep beneath the castle, hidden behind a sealed door, Lyra discovered an ancient mirror, its surface dark like still water. And when she looked into it, she didn't see her reflection. She saw something else, something watching her, something that whispered without sound, and for the first time in her life, someone acknowledged her presence. The mirror spoke not in words, but in feelings. It showed her visions, fragments of truth long buried. It showed her that the 100th daughter was not a mistake. She was a balance, a necessary shadow to the kingdom's light, and every time the royal family tried to avoid her existence, the balance of the kingdom weakened slowly, silently. The prosperity they celebrated was built on a fragile lie, and Lyra was the truth they feared. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The mirror did not just reveal the truth. It awakened something inside her, a quiet, glowing power, not violent, not destructive, but deeply connected to the unseen parts of the world, the forgotten, the ignored, the silenced. And as her power grew, strange things began happening in the kingdom. Flowers began blooming in abandoned places. Shadows lingered longer than they should. Whispers echoed through the halls at night, and people began to feel something was wrong. Something was watching, something they could not name. And as the kingdom grew uneasy, Princess Ceres, the beloved one, began to sense it too. She felt a presence following her, not threatening, but sad. And one night, she followed that feeling into the forbidden parts of the castle, and there, for the first time, the two sisters met. Ceres saw Lyra, really saw her, and in that moment, something broke. Not in a violent way, but quietly, like a truth finally surfacing after being buried too long. Ceres realized that her entire life, her happiness, her love, had come at the cost of someone else's existence, and Lyra didn't hate her. She didn't accuse her. She simply asked one question, a question so soft, yet so heavy. Do I deserve to exist? And that question, that single question, shattered everything Ceres believed, because she didn't have an answer. And from that night on, the kingdom began to unravel. Not through war, not through destruction, but through truth. The hidden daughter could no longer remain hidden. The people began to see glimpses of her. Whispers turned into stories, stories turned into fear, and fear turned into chaos, because the moment a truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. The king tried to suppress it, to lock Lyra away once more, but it was too late. Her existence had already begun restoring the balance, and balance does not ask for permission. Storms began to form over the golden towers. The once perfect kingdom began to crack, not because of Lyra's power, but because of the lie it had been built upon. And in the end, the final twist came not with destruction, but with a choice. Lyra stood before the kingdom, no longer hidden, no longer silent, and she had the power to either let the kingdom fall or restore it, but only if they accepted her, not as a mistake, but as part of their truth. And for the first time in history, the people of Valerian had to face something they had avoided for generations. Not a curse, but a truth they refused to accept. And after a long, painful silence, they chose to see her, truly see her, not as the 100th mistake, but as the missing piece. And in that moment, the storms faded, the cracks healed, and the kingdom was no longer perfect, but it was real. And Lyra, the girl they tried to forget, became the one who finally made them whole. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this story was always about. Not magic, not royalty, not even destiny, but the quiet, powerful truth that no one deserves to be erased, no matter how inconvenient their existence may seem. And sometimes, the ones we hide away are the ones who hold everything together, so the next time you feel unseen, unheard, like you don't belong, remember Lyra, because the world may not always recognize your place, but that doesn't mean you don't have one, and sometimes your existence is the very thing keeping everything from falling apart